This is History for Cocktail Parties with hack historians Thornton Kennedy and James Ottley.
Welcome back to History for Cocktail Parties. I'm your co-host, Thornton Kennedy, here with
James Ottley.
And we're going to continue our journey on the largest manhunt in American history, the FBI tracking down the assassin of Martin Luther King Jr.
That's right.
And catch us up on where we are.
Right. So we last left off, James Earl Ray is in Canada. He's working on trying to get a passport and trying to make his way to London and ultimately to Rhodesia or somewhere in Africa, where he either wants to become a mercenary or he thinks he'll become
That's right, the mercenary thing.
He thinks he'll become or be viewed as a hero once he gets there. So we've left him back in Canada at this time, working on trying to get a passport and flee that country as well. The FBI has his fingerprints. Most importantly, they have his picture at this time. So they are closing in.
Absolutely. But before we get into our story, let's play a quick word about our sponsor. We have a great partnership with Play, a full-service advertising agency. They ensure the right people find you and buy what you're selling. See their many case studies at goplaydesign.com. That's goplaydesign.com. And we are grateful for that partnership. Great sponsorship. Thank you, Play.
I concur.
Okay, back into our story.
Right on. So, as I mentioned, we're back in Toronto. Ray is keeping a low profile at this time. He's waiting for his passport and his plane ticket to get to London. He's moved into a new boarding house at this point, and just like the first one, he stayed in his room for a week.
Do you know why he moved boarding houses? Do we remember what the deal was, or is it just paranoia?
It might be, I don't know for sure, but he's a man on the run.
Yeah.
And maybe different locations he thinks is going to, keep people off his trail, perhaps.
And Hampton Sides doesn't really address this, but I believe he was using heroin. He was using all kinds of drugs.
He does address it, actually.
Does
right. He's using drugs. And so, I mean, maybe.
That's part of that paranoia, I think.
Absolutely.
Just to keep moving.
Right.
And, of course,
I see your
his
point.
name is out there.
And his picture.
Yeah,
indeed. So, and the new boarding house that he moves into, the landlord is a Chinese lady, Ms. Liu, and she does not read or speak any English.
Right.
So that
another one of those wrinkles.
Right. And I don't know that I don't think Ray knew that the old landlady and landlord at his old boarding house that they had seen. Maybe he saw the picture and maybe saw the newspapers, on the,
right.
out in the lobby or something like that. And he saw that, wow, his picture's in the paper. They're going to see this. So he moved on. Maybe that might be part of it too. We don't know. But as I said, his current landlord is Chinese and she doesn't speak any English. On Sunday night, April 21st, he finally comes out of his room and he goes to a couple of bars.
I know, it's so crazy.
He's hoping to catch a show called The FBI, which is I think a drama, but at the end, it shows a most wanted list of criminals, and he wants to see if he's on there. So he goes around to these different bars, and again, let's remember that his picture is now out there. I mean, it's got the cartoon eyes.
His name, his picture.
Yes.
He's going to bars. He's asking them to turn the channel away from whatever they were, Ed Sullivan
show.
Yeah.
Right. And all of these, I mean, it's just amazing to me that he wasn't caught at this point.
Yeah.
But he wasn't. So he goes to one bar and he's able to get the tavern owner or barkeep to turn the channel so he can watch the FBI on ABC. And at the end of the show, as he's probably expecting it to be, or maybe he's horrified, there's his picture.
Right.
And he probably doesn't expect it. He probably does not expect that the FBI has, and just to retrace, because I think it's such great detective work on the part of the FBI, they've gotten his car, they found that the sticker, the oil sticker, immediately sent agents in California to check out that oil change place. They track him, to the dance studio. They
Right.
track him to the
Bartending school.
First to his home, to his address, get the phone records, then to the dance studio, then to bartending school, and that's where they find the picture. So just some great detective work. Right
also, and you're going to say this, I believe, he didn't know they knew his name.
That's right. And this is when he finds that out.
Yeah.
That they know.
He discovers in a bar watching the FBI.
Right. With his picture up there.
James Earl Ray
right.
is the man that we are looking for.
That's right.
Not Eric Gold.
Right.
Not Bridgman.
Right.
Not Weinheimer, whatever his name was.
Snade. Yeah.
John Willard was the name he used to check into the boarding house.
That's right. And there he is at the bar, and there his picture is on the TV. So
and again, I hate to keep driving this point home, but this is the actual arrest photo of James Earl Ray. So it's not the FBI with the goofy eyes, the bartending photo. They have his convict picture.
Oh, from when he was convicted and put in prison. Okay.
God. This is an actual photo of him.
Yeah.
Without the eyes closed.
Gotcha. And without the cartoon eyes, which we talked about last time. So the following morning, this is April 23rd, Ray pays a visit to a small grocery store a few blocks down from his current rooming house, and his plan is to hold it up. He is desperately short of money at this point. And the assistant manager finds him in an off-limits area near the safe. And when the assistant manager asks him, he says, I was looking for a job. And then he immediately bolts out of there, jumps on a streetcar, and flees the scene. The following
Nothing
day,
suspicious about that whatsoever.
Not at all. And the next day, this assistant manager sees a picture in Newsweek.
Right.
Yeah. And calls the police. So they know where he is now. So at this point, Ray decides he's going to go to Montreal, catches a bus there. He's going to lay low in Montreal for a couple of days. And he's actually looking for a freighter that might take him to Southern Africa. And he finds a Scandinavian ship that will take him to Mozambique, but they require a passport. And he doesn't have that yet.
Yeah, he can't wait for the plane ticket. He can't wait for the passport. His photos all over the place. His name's all over the place. He needs to get out of Dodge.
Right. The FBI is closing in. So after a couple of days, Ray returns to Toronto. He can't get on a ship to go anywhere. And he has applied for, I don't know if I mentioned this or not, but he's applied for a birth certificate or a copy of a birth certificate for Snade and probably Paul Bridgman too. And that finally comes in the mail, and he's put the address down as his boarding house. And that comes in the mail the next day when he gets back from Toronto. And here again, the butterfly, well, he's in a payphone down the street. He's making a call. He's in the phone.
He's calling
booth.
the reporter from the British newspaper to learn about mercenaries in.
Is that where he's
calling? No, that's in the future.
But I don't know who he's calling at this point. However,
ahead of myself.
No worries. He accidentally leaves this birth certificate that he's just gotten in the mail in the phone booth.
Unreal.
Anyway, thank God he makes all these mistakes, although this one doesn't catch up to him. Later that day, Ray's in his room, and Miss Fu comes and tells him that he's got a visitor.
Yeah. Knocks
downstairs.
on the door, peeks out the blinds, sees a guy out there.
He won't come out because he's sure this is the police.
This is it.
The gig is up, as we've said.
It's over.
So finally he comes down, and the man that's down there waiting for him is not a police officer. It's not a cop. But it's that good Canadian spirit.
Good Samaritan.
The good Samaritan who's there returning this birth certificate.
Excuse me, sir, you dropped this.
Yeah, exactly.
You left this birth certificate in a payphone.
Right. And the address had the address of the boarding house, so he took it to him. So, again, just, the gig was not up at that point. So a couple of days pass by. We're now on right around May 2nd. And Ray calls the travel agency to check on his passport, and they tell him it's ready, and the plane ticket has gotten there as well. But when he goes down there to pick up his documents, they have misspelled on the passport is misspelled, and it does not have Snade, Sneyd. It has Snea, because when he was in a rush to fill out the application, his handwriting was illegible. But there's nothing he can do about it right now,
and he's got to go,
and he's got to get out of town. So he pays for his ticket. There's nothing he can do about it. And on May 6th, he checks out of Ms. Lou's boarding house, and he heads to the Toronto International Airport. Boards his flight without any issues.
Crazy.
Unbelievable, right?
Unbelievable.
6:40, lands on May 7th. He lands in London. He immediately exchanges the return flight for a ticket to Portugal, and he hops on a plane to Lisbon that same day. And again, no issues whatsoever. And the reason he goes to Lisbon, and you kind of hit on this a little bit earlier, but Lisbon apparently at that time was an international recruitment center for mercenaries.
Right.
And he had this, crazy idea that he could become or would become a mercenary. So that's apparently the reason he went to Lisbon. And he's hoping to catch a ship there to Africa in order to, pursue that goal or endeavor of becoming
being a mercenary,
which is, again, kind of crazy. So he spends a week. He's walking around the docks, kind of just like in Montreal.
Run out of money. I mean,
yeah, he's close.
Getting broke.
He's close.
We never really figure out where his money comes from.
Well, we know where it's going. He's spending it. I mean, he's staying in his room with prostitutes and drugs and that kind of thing. So he finds a ship that's bound for Angola, which will take him there for about $130, but it requires a visa, which he doesn't have, and it would take a week to get the visa, and the ship's leaving in 3 days. So he's kind of at a dead end, thankfully. So he decides to stay in Lisbon for just a little bit. And the reason he does this is because Portugal's extradition laws at that time were and they may still be, were very strict, and they always favored the fugitive. And in Portugal,
so bizarre.
It is, isn't it? And so in Portugal, which had abolished capital punishment in 1867, long ago, they would not extradite him if the prosecutors in the U.S. were going to seek the death penalty. So he's got this kind of layer of protection there. But, he, as I said, we talked about, he's low on funds, and, he's still spending his days on the docks, but he's trying to get passage out of there, but he's not having any luck. He kind of in the realm of the truly bizarre. He goes to the South African embassy, asks about their immigration policy, and also if the embassy knew anything about becoming a soldier of fortune, over there. What a weird, odd question to ask. But again, he's trying to become a mercenary, but that's just a dumb question to ask an embassy. But he asks it. He is able to learn about some mercenary groups that are operating out of Angola from another source. And I don't think we need to go into all of that, but you mentioned that he's calling
a newspaper reporter who had written extensively about the mercenaries in Africa. And
so he gets some information about it from that newspaper guy.
He's calling him, and I think he's drawing attention to himself at this point in Portugal as well.
Yeah.
People are beginning to notice him.
Excuse me. So he's desperately low on money, as I mentioned, and he's down to about $500, and he doesn't think he can pull off a robbery there. So at this point he says,
that's what it was. The language barrier. He needed more money, so he couldn't rob a Portuguese bank because he couldn't speak the language. I forgot. That's what it was.
Couldn't write the note or anything.
Right.
So he gets on a flight back to London, and on Friday, May 17th, he's back in London.
James, I have to say, that's one of the crazier components of this, is that he flew back to London in order to rob a bank.
Yeah, basically, and also a crazy component is the fact that he's just able to fly freely, and he's carrying a .38 revolver with him the whole time.
That's going to come up in a minute, but he has a gun on him the entire time.
I mean, no metal detectors, and nobody checking IDs to see, passports to see these guys.
Well, remember, there were all those crazy hijackings in the 1960s and 70s.
And you'd think that
at some point.
Right. Well, I mean, I remember, maybe we all do, flying and, before 9/11. I mean, I remember even looking up, seeing the cockpit door open and thinking,
absolutely.
This is not a good idea.
Yeah.
Anyway. So during the middle of May, we're back to the FBI now. The FBI shifts the focus of the manhunt to Canada, or expands it to Canada, because they had learned, and I don't know how they did, but they had learned that Ray had spent time there in Toronto and Montreal
right
after he had escaped from prison in April of 1967, and they think he might have returned there, which obviously he has. So the FBI, they contact the Canadian Mounted Police. Was it the Canadian Royal
Canadian Mounted Police?
There you go. Thank you. And
don't fact check that. Just go with it. Say it with vigor.
Sounds good. And they asked him to examine all the passport applications dating back to April 1967 when he escaped from prison. And that's 270,000 passport applications, which, again, no computers. They're going to have to go through all
the passport photos
by hand. Magnifying glass or at least by hand. Ray's back in London at this point, and he's kind of protected. He's got a little, I'm going to say safe harbor, but in Great Britain, Great Britain had recently passed a criminal justice act. Right. And so it almost I'll tell you about it, and then I'll tell you what it reminds me of. But it virtually prohibited British publications from printing anything more than just the basic details of a suspect.
Innocent until proven guilty. You would not have your photos. Nothing would be identified about you until you'd had your court case.
Exactly. So none of the papers there had published his photo. And so
dumb luck.
I don't know. Did he know that or not know that? Who knows? He didn't know.
No way.
Right. And so, other than Scotland Yard, most people did not know about it. And, the assassination was not as big a news story in Britain.
Yeah, that's
as it
interesting.
was in the United States. So, he's kind of remaining under the radar, Keep going back to these money troubles. He's spending on prostitutes. He's spending on drugs and, boarding houses and it's getting pretty acute at this point. So, and on May 27th, his current landlady tells him that his rent is due. So a couple hours later, and this you mentioned this, a couple hours later, Ray walks into a jewelry store, small jewelry store, family owned, and the owner and his wife are in the process of closing down for the night. So Ray grabs the owner and sticks this revolver in his neck and orders him to the back of the store. I guess he's going to, try and get him to open the safe or maybe steal some of the jewelry, but neither of them budge.
I love that.
I do too.
Not only do they not budge,
go tell it.
But the wife jumps on his back.
Yeah, exactly. And even better, so while she does that, the owner wrestles the gun away from him and pistol whips him a couple of times, which is just awesome. And so he runs off, been pistol whipped.
Somehow gets the gun back.
I guess so. Yeah, he sure does.
He sure
does. Yeah. And runs off down the street. June 1. We're up to June 1 at this point. The Canadian police, they've gone through over 100,000 passports, again, by hand. And again, remember, they've got Ray's picture now.
They're going side by side.
That's right.
I think they have thousands of these officers looking at these images. It's the biggest effort by the police. Huge.
Until that point. That's exactly right. And so the passport of Raymond George Snea, again, misspelling, catches their eye. But because Ray has worn glasses in the picture, they're kind of thrown off by that.
And remember, he did bought the makeup and
kit.
Made himself look different.
Exactly.
So it's just off enough to where this officer looks at it and says, gosh, that's close.
Yeah. So they put it in the possibles file.
Right.
And, for further review. Again, back to the money troubles. On June 4th, a couple of days later, Ray walks into the Trustees Savings Bank in London and hands the teller a note saying, "Hey, I've got a gun and this is a stick-up." And he's he's kind of, he's successful and he does get away with 95 pounds. I don't know exactly how much that is, but
not enough.
Not enough, But I think there's a little bit of commotion, right? I mean, and so he runs off, but and actually two tellers chase after him, and he gets away, ducks into a tailor shop, and apparently feigns interest.
Looks like he's buying a suit or something, which is just surreal that he just stops running.
Exactly.
And, look at this.
Exactly.
Mascot.
But in his haste, makes a critical mistake, which really helps. He leaves behind his note. And so they've got this note with a high-quality thumbprint on it. So they know they've got his thumbprint, as we know from the FBI research. So, I mean, they're closing in at this point. So in Toronto, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, hopefully I said it right, the lead detective is given the latest copy or the latest pile
of maybes,
that's
possibles,
right, of the possibles. And he determines that Snea is probably just a clerical error. And I don't know how he does that. Maybe just that's not a real name or a weird sounding name or whatever. And he tracks down the real Raymond George Sneyd. And initially he thought that Raymond George Sneyd, the real Raymond George Sneyd, was like a co-conspirator, you know, or an accomplice. And he talks to him. The real Sneyd says that a month ago he received this weird phone call, this weird phone call about his passport, and that was when Ray had called him, right? And so the detective realized that Sneyd is innocent, but the passport that he's looking at is definitely fake. So the Canadian detectives, they can see on the passport where it's come from, where where it was issued. So they go to the Kennedy Travel Bureau, again, no relation.
Find that nice woman.
That's right, who's just trying to be helpful. And they talk to her, and she says that, she tells him, well, I got a ticket for him for London, so that's probably, where he is, or where he went. And so the Canadians pull all of the airline records at Toronto International, and they confirmed that Raymond G. Sneyd or Snea was on a flight to London when he flew there. And they've got these copies of the passport application. They forward them to the FBI crime lab, and the handwriting experts, they confirm pretty quickly
this is the same
guy. So Sneyd's handwriting matched Eric S. Galt, and James Earl Ray. So they know they've got their guy, and they know the name they're looking for. So FBI notifies Scotland Yard, and as we said, they're really closing in on him at this point. So back in London, Sneyd moves again. He's on the run. He moves to another boarding house, and he's running out of money. And the bank robbery didn't get him enough money, and he's already spent some of it on syringes and drugs and stuff like that to shoot up. So he's low, and the Scotland Yard detectives at this point really quickly learn that he had flown to Lisbon the same day he arrived in London, and they've notified the Portuguese police, and they're working with Interpol. And they trace his movements to Lisbon, found his hotel, his drinking, the places where, his brothels and all of this. And they discover he at that time in Lisbon, obtained a corrected passport. At the Canadian embassy. And most importantly, they realize, or they find out that he's flown back to London. On May 17th. So at this point, London detectives,
it's unbelievable.
London police, they fan out. They start checking every cheap hotel, boarding house in London, every airline, train line, bus line, every rental car agency. They're even checking luggage lockers, safe deposit boxes, everything, and nightclubs. And the photo of Sneyd or Snea, of course, Ray, is printed in the Police Gazette. This is just for the police, so it doesn't round.
It's not on the front page of the London Times or anything like that. It's only in the police possession of people to look out for.
It's circulated among the police and immigration officers, everyone in the British Isles, all of those officers in the British Isles. And so on June 6, the name Raymond George Sneyd is placed on the all ports warning. And this is, they're really getting close at this point. They're really getting serious. And why this wasn't done, as soon as they had his name, I don't know. But maybe they didn't.
Hey man, Scotland Yard is Scotland Yard. They are the best.
Agree. And they did not have the Sneyd name. All that they had before was James Earl Ray, and he wasn't traveling under that name, so it probably wouldn't have helped him. So immigration officials in every harbor and every air terminal in the British Isles is alerted to this name and to halt and arrest anyone that's traveling under that name. So on the morning of June 8th, Sneyd takes a cab to Heathrow, and he is going to take a British a British Airways flight to Brussels, Belgium. And he's bought this ticket a couple of days ago, and he still wants to become a mercenary. And he's gotten some information that, if he goes to Belgium, there's a kind of black market and he could get hired on as a mercenary. And that's the information he has. So that's why he's flying to Belgium. And he walks into International Terminal 2 and checks his bag, walks over to Customs and Immigration, and he's got his loaded pistol.
Keeps flying with a loaded gun.
Nobody stops him, Anyway,
1968.
Yeah, crazy, different time. So an immigration asks for his passport, and Sneyd pulls out his wallet and pulls his passport from inside the wallet. And the immigration officer, checks this passport and
looks at him,
looks at the passport, and
sees
is
the glasses.
just about to let him through. Just about to let him through. And this is...
Everything checks out, looks good.
Well, except that there's an all ports warning for him. This guy has not read his report. So then the immigration officer sees another passport kind of peeking out from the side of Ray's billfold. And this is the Sneyd passport. But he sees it. He's like, why does this guy have two passports, So
easily explained, by the way.
Of course. Yeah, but it's just enough, this catches his eyes. And you're right, easily explained. And Ray starts to explain it. He says, the guy has to see it, and then he hands it to him. He says, it's clearly marked canceled.
Cancel.
And he tells the immigration officer, that there was an error. In fact, the immigration officer sees that the names are different. The Sneyd, and Sneyd. And, Ray tells him, it was a misspelling, simple clerical error, no big deal. And he'd actually gone to, as he should have, gone to get it corrected at the Canadian Embassy in Portugal. And, everything's cool.
Maybe 3 feet from getting away.
3 feet from getting away, exactly.
And then...
And the immigration is buying his story.
Right.
I mean, as you said, it's easily explained. This sounds logical. But during this conversation, how long did it take me to say that? 15,
that's my point. While he's sitting there in this delayed moment,
just 20 seconds, right?
Another officer approaches with the all points bulletin.
That's right. And something about this traveler to this officer looked kind of familiar. It seemed to recall seeing this man's photo. Like, God, maybe this guy was in the Police Gazette. So this detective that walked up.
It was a detective. It was not the customs officer.
Exactly.
The detective.
Right.
That's delayed just long enough so that this guy can come up and say.
But when we say just long enough, I think it really is like 20 seconds. I hand you my passport. Oh, it's a different name. Oh, yeah, it's a clerical error. What is that, 15, 20, 30 seconds at most? And this little 30 seconds is the 30 seconds that changes the course, that does it. And so he looks at his watch for and detain list, and under the all ports warning, this is the detective, he sees the name Raymond George Sneyd. And the detective says,
amazing,
isn't it?
Just amazing.
Gives you chills down the back of your neck, doesn't it? And so this is finally it. The gig is up, and the detective asks Sneyd to come with him towards the police, the office there. And Ray just thinks it's a routine passport mix-up, the protocol.
I think he originally says, I'm going to miss my flight.
Yeah, but he doesn't.
And they're like, you're
know.
fine. Don't worry, buddy. Just come with us.
Right.
They know they've got him.
Yeah.
But they're not playing their cards at all.
Exactly. And but he doesn't know. Like
he has no idea.
Exactly. And so they take him to the office, and the detective asks if he can search him. He says yes, and they quickly find the pistol, and they arrest him. And it's interesting that the charges they file against him are it's not for murder, and it's just, 1, traveling on a forged passport, and 2, carrying a firearm without a permit. I think he asked him, do you have a permit for this?
Do you have a permit for this gun?
Yeah. And not that like, you're traveling with a gun on an airplane. It's, do you have a permit for it? And
in Great Britain, it requires a permit.
Right. You can fly with it as long as you've got a permit. Crazy. Anyway, so these two kind of, lesser, I'm going to say flimsy charges.
Allow them to hold him.
To hold him, right? And so that's enough to stop him, enough for them to hold him. And now they've got the world's most wanted man. And so things progress. I mean, he gets put in prison. There's an extradition hearing. He loses it. And at midnight on July 18th, 1968, he's flown back to the U.S. on a U.S. Air Force plane. 3:48, plane lands in Tennessee, and James Earl Ray, is remanded to the Shelby County Sheriff's Department.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
What an unbelievable story.
Indeed.
And the number of police agencies, international, all of these organizations
working together.
You can't do it without the FBI. You can't do it without Scotland Yard. You can't do it without the Royal Canadian Mounted Police.
Amen. And so June 1969, he pleads guilty to murder, and he's sentenced to 99 years in prison. And, the manhunt, I think we mentioned, was the largest manhunt in American history up to that date. There were 3,500 FBI agents, cost $2 million. This was an unprecedented amount in that time. Kind of the postscript, Ray serves time in prison. We won't get into it.
I mean, but it's a remarkable story that he escapes again.
That's right. That's right.
Unbelievably the most notorious criminal, assassin, murderer in American history, who broke out from jail once before, manages to break out of jail a second time.
He sure does. And he's caught within 2 weeks at that time. But you're right. It is crazy.
It's crazy
that they allowed him to escape. This guy, Ray, dies in 1998. That's kind of the conclusion of our story. Just a great story about great detective work.
Yeah.
Everybody, as you said, working together.
Tip of the cap to the FBI, cap to the international authorities, and to good old-fashioned gumshoe detective work.
That's exactly right.
Looking at pictures, looking at fingerprints, following every single lead.
That's right.
Every phone call that came in, they had to take seriously. Even though the FBI passes that lead of the Mustang on to the APD, Atlanta Police Department, the APD still goes out there and cracks what I think is there's so many huge breaks in this case.
And there's a little luck involved too, that he drops he ditches the rifle. That he, there's some things along the way that help him out as well.
The fact that the passport is poking out of his billfold.
Right.
If that passport is not poking out of that billfold,
he would have gotten away.
The customs officer didn't register.
Exactly.
It allowed the detective enough time to walk over and say, "Excuse me."
Right. 30 seconds would have done it.
It's an incredible story.
Indeed.
And my other favorite detail about this is, again, the FBI couldn't go after him for the assassination of Martin Luther King. So the warrant was for a person who is alleged to have had entered into a conspiracy to injure, oppress, and threaten or intimidate Martin Luther King Jr.
Right. Exactly. So hats off to the FBI, Interpol, Scotland Yard, all of them bringing this killer to justice.
Fantastic. All right. That concludes this episode of History for Cocktail Parties. We very much appreciate y'all for hanging in there with us. It's a great story, and we'll be back.
Indeed. And if you liked it, we hope you'll leave a comment or drop a comment, as they say.
Is that what the kids say?
I think so. Like, subscribe, all those good things. And if you have a story that you know about, you think would be good for us to cover, please drop it in the comments. We'd love to hear about it, and maybe we'll check it out. Thanks so much. We really appreciate our listeners.
Appreciate you.
This is History for Cocktail Parties with hack historians Thornton Kennedy and James Ottley.